Angel Reese, fined and suspended. The Chicago Sky are in absolute panic, and the WNBA world cannot believe what just happened. In a shocking turn of events, Reese, the so-called face of the future for the Sky, has been hit with devastating punishment after what insiders are calling the most chaotic meltdown of her entire career. Cameras caught the explosive scene. Whispers from inside the locker room confirmed tensions reached a boiling point. And now the entire franchise is scrambling for answers. How did it come to this? How did one of the league's most talked about stars go from celebrated icon to facing suspension in front of millions? And more importantly, what does this mean for her teammates, her future with the Sky, and the WNBA as a whole? Stick around, because what I'm about to reveal is not just a story about a suspension, it's a full-blown crisis that could change everything for Angel Reese and send shockwaves through women's basketball forever. The truth behind this meltdown is darker, messier, and far more dramatic than anyone could have imagined. The story of Angel Reese's rise in the WNBA has been nothing short of meteoric. From the moment she declared for the draft, Reese carried with her a larger-than-life presence. Dubbed the Bayou Barbie during her iconic college days, she became a cultural icon well before she ever stepped foot on a professional court. Her unapologetic confidence, flashy play style, and ability to draw massive attention on social media made her a marketing goldmine for the league. The Chicago Sky saw her not just as a player, but as a brand that could rejuvenate their entire franchise. But with that kind of spotlight comes pressure. And with pressure comes drama. The Chicago Sky entered the season with lofty expectations. But the chemistry between Angel and the rest of the roster was rocky from the start. Reports of locker room disagreements, side-eye glances during practice, and even heated exchanges in huddles started to surface. Still, Angel's raw talent and ability to grab double-doubles night after night allowed fans to overlook the tension simmering beneath the surface. The league, desperate for stars who could capture headlines, leaned into Angel's polarizing personality. Her rivalry with Caitlin Clark, the back-and-forth jabs on social media, and her ability to trend after nearly every game made her impossible to ignore. But while the spotlight elevated her, it also magnified every misstep. One outburst, one conflict, one bad decision. The conversation was no longer about her dominance, but about whether she was becoming a liability. Behind closed doors, the Chicago Sky front office began to feel the strain. Teammates whispered about her me-first mentality. Coaches worried that her focus on building her brand was clashing with the discipline needed on the court. And yet, Angel's presence was so valuable to ticket sales, sponsorships, and national media attention that the organization felt trapped. They couldn't afford to lose her, but they also couldn't afford the chaos she brought with her. The breaking point started with a string of games where Reese's emotions seemed to spill over, from fiery arguments with referees to public confrontations with opponents. She was making as many headlines for her behavior as for her stats. The tension boiled to new levels during one particularly chaotic game, where her frustration erupted in a meltdown caught on multiple cameras. Fans saw the fire in her eyes, but insiders saw something much more dangerous: a complete breakdown of trust between Angel, her coaches, and her teammates. This wasn't just a bad moment, it was the culmination of weeks, even months of built-up pressure. And it was enough for the league to step in. The WNBA prides itself on professionalism, on pushing its stars as role models, and Angel's actions had crossed the line. What followed was unprecedented for someone of her stature. A fine and suspension that immediately sent shockwaves through the basketball world. But here's the twist. This punishment wasn't just about discipline, it was about control. Insiders claim that the league and the Chicago Sky saw this as a way to reset Angel, to remind her that no star, no matter how powerful, is bigger than the game itself. To the outside world, it looked like a simple suspension, but to those paying attention, it signaled something far more dangerous, a fracture that could split Angel Reese from the Sky entirely. The stage was set. Angel Reese, once the crown jewel of the WNBA's future, was now standing at a crossroads. Would she accept the punishment, rebuild her reputation, and return stronger than ever? Or would this suspension mark the beginning of the end of her time in Chicago? One thing was certain: the meltdown had changed everything. The fine and suspension hit Chicago like an earthquake. Fans woke up to the headlines and could barely believe what they were reading. Angel Reese, the face of the Sky and arguably the most polarizing star in the WNBA, punished after what insiders described as a chaotic meltdown. But behind those headlines was a storm far bigger than anyone realized. The Chicago Sky front office had been bracing for this moment. For weeks, executives whispered about Angel's emotional outbursts. the simmering tension with coaches, and her refusal to back down during team meetings. Sources revealed that after the meltdown game, the locker room turned into a war zone. Teammates sat in stunned silence as Angel clashed directly with the coaching staff, shouting that she was tired of carrying the team and demanding that management step up to bring in real talent. What was supposed to be a routine post-game discussion spiraled into a fiery showdown, with Reese storming out before the coaches even finished speaking. The league's decision to fine and suspend her wasn't just about her actions. During the game, it was about that confrontation, spilling beyond the court. Executives feared that if Reese's power went unchecked, she could destabilize not just the Sky, but the league itself. The WNBA was betting heavily on her to carry storylines, fuel ticket sales, and dominate highlight reels. But now, they faced a nightmare scenario, their star turning into a liability in real time. The first twist came when insiders leaked that the punishment wasn't unanimous. According to sources close to the situation, several high-ranking figures within the WNBA opposed suspending Reese. They argued that disciplining her too harshly could backfire, painting the league as overly strict and unfair to one of its most bankable stars. Others, however, insisted the league had no choice. "If we don't make an example now," one executive allegedly said, "we'll lose control later." Meanwhile, the Chicago Sky owners were panicking. The suspension not only put their season at risk but also raised serious questions about Angel's future with the franchise. Fans flooded social media with divided takes. Some applauded the league for holding Reese accountable, while others accused the WNBA of targeting her because of her unapologetic personality. The debate was so intense that #FreeAngel began trending within hours of the suspension being announced. But here's where the twist deepened. Insiders claimed that Angel herself refused to apologize. In closed-door meetings with the Sky, she reportedly told management that if they wanted her to stay long-term, they needed to stop treating her like a rookie and start building a championship-level roster around her. This wasn't contrition, it was defiance. Reese wasn't backing down. She was doubling down. That stance sent shockwaves through the organization. Instead of diffusing the tension, the punishment had only escalated it. Angel's suspension became a bargaining chip, a weapon in the growing battle between the franchise and its brightest star. Some teammates quietly sided with her, frustrated by the Sky's lack of direction. Others distanced themselves, worried that her drama was overshadowing their season. The locker room was divided, and that fracture threatened to derail everything. The first twist was undeniable. The suspension wasn't just about punishing Angel Reese, it was about a power struggle. The league wanted control. The Sky wanted stability. Angel wanted respect. And now, with emotions boiling over and no one willing to blink first, the Chicago Sky were facing an identity crisis unlike anything in recent memory. Fans thought the suspension was the story, but in reality, it was just the opening salvo of a much bigger war brewing behind the scenes. If the suspension was the spark, what came next was the wildfire. The Chicago Sky thought disciplining Angel Reese might cool tensions, but instead, it ignited a full-blown crisis. Insiders described the atmosphere at practice the following week as toxic, with coaches walking on eggshells and players whispering in hushed tones. Every drill, every scrimmage felt heavy with unspoken questions. Was Angel coming back? And if she did, would things ever be the same? Would things ever be the same? The escalation began when reports surfaced that Reese had skipped an optional team workout during her suspension. While technically allowed, her absence was interpreted as a silent protest. Social media exploded with speculation. Was she sending a message to the front office? Or was she already preparing to force her way out of Chicago? The hashtag Angel to Dallas started trending after fans spotted her liking a post about the Wings needing a star, big. Suddenly, her suspension wasn't just about discipline, it was about leverage. Behind closed doors, the Sky were unraveling. Multiple players reportedly confronted management, demanding to know why their star teammate was being singled out. At the same time, others confided privately to insiders that they were exhausted by the constant drama. One anonymous source even said, "This team isn't the Chicago Sky anymore, it's the Angel Reese show." That line alone captured the growing divide. Some players felt overshadowed, while others were inspired by her willingness to challenge authority. Then came the shocking reveal. According to a bombshell leak from a trusted insider, the Chicago Sky ownership had quietly reached out to other teams to gauge interest in a potential Reese trade. While no official offers were made, just the fact that conversations had started sent shockwaves through the WNBA. For a player who was marketed as the future face of the franchise, the idea of trading her so soon was unthinkable. And yet, Here it was proof that the Sky were panicking. Word of these trade whispers reached Reese almost immediately. Sources claim she was furious, viewing it as a betrayal of the promises made to her when she was drafted. In one emotional exchange, she allegedly told a close friend, "If they don't want me here, fine, but I'll make sure everyone knows the truth before I go." That statement hinted at something deeper, that Reese might have receipts, stories of dysfunction, and behind-the-scenes chaos the organization desperately didn't want public. The league office, meanwhile, was in damage control mode. Executives worried that if Reese truly turned on Chicago, the fallout would hurt not just the Sky, but the WNBA's rising momentum as a whole. They had banked on her personality and magnetism to draw in new fans, and now the image of their star was being defined by chaos, conflict, and suspension. To calm the storm, league officials reportedly reached out to Shaquille O'Neal, Reese's outspoken mentor, urging him to intervene and smooth things over. But Shaq's involvement only poured gasoline on the fire, as his fiery defense of Reese made headlines and fueled the narrative that the Sky had mishandled everything. The shocking reveal wasn't just that trade talks had begun, it was that Angel Reese suddenly held all the cards. Fans rallied around her, chanting "Free Angel" at Sky games and flooding the team's social media with demands to treat her better. Sponsors began asking questions too, worried that their association with the Sky might be tainted by the controversy. The balance of power had shifted dramatically, and it was no longer clear who was in control: the team, the league, or Reese herself. As the drama spiraled, one thing became clear: this wasn't just about a suspension anymore. This was about identity, loyalty, and survival. The Chicago Sky's season was hanging by a thread, and the league was watching nervously as its brightest star threatened to turn the WNBA's biggest success story into its most explosive scandal. And if the trade rumors were true, the next move might not be Angel's, it could be Chicago's. The suspension alone would have been enough to spark headlines, but once the trade rumors leaked, the public reaction hit another level entirely. What had begun as whispers in locker rooms exploded into one of the most polarizing debates the WNBA has seen in years. Fans took sides immediately. Social media was a battlefield of hashtags, memes, and viral threads. On one end, supporters of Angel Reese painted her as a revolutionary figure, someone brave enough to stand up against a system that often silences players. "She's the WNBA's Allen Iverson," one fan tweeted, "misunderstood, but too real for the suits to handle." Others rallied behind #FreeAngel, insisting that the Chicago Sky were scapegoating their star to cover up a crumbling franchise. On the flip side, critics were relentless. "This isn't leadership, it's selfishness," wrote one viral post on X. "She's not fighting for her teammates, she's fighting for herself." Sports radio lit up with callers questioning her professionalism, accusing her of prioritizing social media clout over basketball. Even memes mocking her suspension racked up millions of views, with some dubbing her TikTok MVP instead of rookie star. The backlash was sharp, and for every fan defending her, there were two others demanding accountability. Inside the WNBA, the reactions were just as divided. Some players privately applauded Reese's defiance, arguing that the league needed more athletes willing to speak out against unfair treatment. Others, however, worried that her drama would make it harder for everyone else to be taken seriously. "We're fighting for respect," one veteran told an insider. And situations like this don't help. Industry voices added fuel to the fire. Stephen A. Smith dedicated an entire segment to blasting the Sky's handling of the situation, but he didn't spare Reese either. "Both sides are wrong," he shouted. "The team looks weak, and the player looks immature. And the fans, they're the ones paying the price." His words only intensified the conversation. With clips of his rant circulating across every platform, sponsors and media partners couldn't ignore the fallout either. One sportswear brand reportedly paused a potential deal with Reese, citing reputational risks. At the same time, TV networks quietly welcomed the drama. Controversy meant eyeballs, and the Reese saga had suddenly turned a late season Sky game into must-watch television. But perhaps the most significant reaction came from the league office itself. Insiders say Commissioner Kathy Engelbert was caught between two impossible choices: protect Reese, one of the league's rising stars, or side with the Sky's management in the name of discipline and order. Her silence so far has only made things murky, fueling speculation that the league is waiting to see whether the public tide turns in Reese's favor before making a definitive move. For now, the WNBA is trapped in a storm of its own making. The fans are louder than ever, the media won't let go, and every insider leak makes the situation look more volatile. public perception has become the real court of judgment, and the verdict isn't unanimous. Some see Angel Reese as the face of a bold new generation, others as the embodiment of reckless immaturity. Either way, the entire league is watching and the world wants to know what comes next. Just when it seemed the chaos had reached its peak, a late-night leak sent the entire WNBA community into overdrive, according to an anonymous insider close to the Chicago Sky front office. The team wasn't just disciplining Angel Reese, they were actively exploring trade packages behind closed doors. What was initially brushed off as a suspension suddenly looked like the first domino in a much larger plan. The report claimed that at least 2 teams had already contacted Chicago about Reese's availability, with one Western Conference powerhouse allegedly preparing to make a serious move. The insider revealed that Reese herself might have played a hand in this narrative, using her social media meltdown as a smokescreen to push the Sky into a corner. This isn't just punishment, the source said, this is a chess match, and Reese might actually be winning. But that wasn't the only twist. Hours later, Reese dropped a cryptic post to her Instagram story, a black screen with just 4 words. "They can't silence me." The timing couldn't have been more suspicious. Was this a defiant jab at her team, the league, or both? Fans instantly connected the dots, speculating that she was preparing to expose the Sky's internal dysfunction. Within minutes, hashtags like #ReeseUnfiltered and #SkyExposed started trending, fueling rumors that she had receipts of behind-the-scenes conflicts with teammates, coaches, and even executives. Meanwhile, whispers began circulating about locker room betrayal. One source alleged that a veteran player had gone directly to management, urging them to get control of Angel before the whole team implodes. If true, this wouldn't just be a player versus management feud, it would be a full-scale fracture inside the locker room itself. And then came the bombshell no one expected. Reports surfaced that Reese had already been in contact with Shaquille O'Neal, her longtime mentor and defender. Insiders say Shaq warned Chicago executives privately that if they mishandled Reese, he would go public and unleash a firestorm against the Sky's front office. That revelation alone suggested this was no longer just a basketball story, it was about power, influence, and the future face of the WNBA. Now the league finds itself on the brink of a nightmare scenario. If Reese does get traded, it could either catapult her into superstardom with a new franchise or end her career if teams view her as too volatile to handle. The Sky, meanwhile, risk becoming the villains of the league, the team that pushed away one of its brightest young stars. The tension is unbearable. Fans are refreshing their feeds by the second, waiting to see whether Reese's next move will be a tearful apology, a scorched earth tell-all, or a shocking trade announcement that changes the WNBA landscape forever. One thing is clear, this saga is far from over. Angel Reese isn't just fighting a suspension, she's fighting for control of her own narrative, and the next twist could either save her career, or end it in flames. This story is only just beginning. Angel Reese's suspension, the fines, the cryptic posts, the whispers of a possible trade, it all points to a storm that could reshape the WNBA forever. Will Chicago double down and force Reese to comply? Or will they cave under the pressure and cut ties with their most controversial star? And if she does leave, which team is bold enough to take her on? We want to hear from you. Do you think Reese is being unfairly targeted, or has she crossed a line that no player should cross? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's debate it out. And don't forget, subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because the next update in this saga could drop at any moment. Trust me, you don't want to miss the next shocking twist in the Angel Reese drama.